So we're going to start with step 1. By the way, Stiggins says students can hit any target they can see, and we hold still for them. That's what this is about, clarity for the learner, clarity for us. So we're going to look at student growth by starting with step 1, which is the easiest step. You do step 1 already. You've been doing step 1 for a couple years now. Step 1 is, what's your goal? You have 2 choices to go for goals. You can choose a world-class outcome, or you can choose a 4C. Now I know in Cite 2 you're doing all of this, but for Cite 6, for Phase 3, the SLO process, to learn it well instead of just checking it off, we really want you to focus on 1. We'll refer to it as your bread and butter, the meat and potatoes of your content. And it also aligns with Cite 1.1 if you pick an outcome, or 1.3 if you're picking a 4C. You're doing it already. Now, at your table, there is a pink box. Please shaft and draft somebody at your table to be in charge of the pink box. It's their gift for the day, so quickly give that box to someone at your table. Your box babysitter is going to take this out. Winston's already ahead of the game. They're going to take this out and they're going to pass it to everyone at the table. We want everybody, principals, counselors, everybody to have a copy. We want you to do this process. So you can replicate this with your staff. So we're going to do step 1. I do not want you to overthink this. You're not married to it. I want you to just take a leap of faith and practice with us. In the box it says step 1. Write in your goal, that world-class outcome or that 4C. Now, if you don't get it verbatim, don't worry about it. But you don't have to have it memorized. You can get the gist of it, but write that world-class outcome or your goal in that top box. So we have a lot of people who are using a 4C. Very good. Had some special ed teachers who were working with SSN kids, and they said it's all about communication. That's the big bread and butter. Raise your hand if you chose a world-class outcome. Great. So as long as you have that in the box, we can move on to the next step.
And they're not married to this?
No, you're not married to it. This is just practice. Yeah, you can get the right verbiage. So please turn to people on both sides, give them a high five, tell them they're wonderful, and you have done step 1. So we're ready to move on to step 2. Step 2, and we will give you some processing time, but we need you to hang with us for step 2. It's a little more complex than step 1. Step 2 is success criteria. What's the success criteria that goes with your world-class outcome? What's the meat that goes with your 4C? So when you tell a student, we're working on creativity, what's the meat for creativity? When you tell a student, we're working in math on problem solving with resiliency, we need to know what that means. What are the look-fors? What are the components of that goal? So those components provide you with better data for the learner. You tell a kid they got a 92%, a 92% of what? The success criteria lets you differentiate for your kids. It lets you see their strengths for certain areas as well as their needs for certain areas. It's how we're going to get the growth that we need for all of our learners on this journey. So Chris and I are going to model a way for teachers to develop success criteria. Then we're going to get you up by content, and you're going to go through the same process along the room. So we're going to model it first, and then we're going to have you do this. And we've been doing this with schools and different content areas and different groups, and I'm going to need a marker. You're going to look at your goal that you have on your sheet. Don't do it yet. I want you to watch. You're going to look at the goal you have on your sheet, and you're going to take 5 sticky notes. And the reason you have 5 is if you have too many, then you've taken those building blocks and you've turned them into minutia. We want big rocks for that goal. So I'm going to take 5. I don't have to use all 5. And then I'm going to begin to deconstruct my goal. So it says create meaning, strategically create meaning through complex writing. So I'm thinking, what the heck does that mean? So I know one of the things is clarity. I don't want kids just throwing up on the page. I want them to be concise. I want their message to be clear. I know another one of mine is structure. I want them to know the structure of different types of writing, so the structure of poetry, and I want them to be strategic about knowing which structure to use. I want them to, audience, which is part of that strategic. Purpose. Thank you, Mark. We should have Mark play with us. Conventions. So you're going to do this in a minute with your own outcome. So you do it first. And then you gather with other people who are doing the same outcome, and you cluster them, and you're looking for common themes. So it's called a Twitter feed. You can only speak as long as a tweet. So it's from here to here to explain. We do not want doctoral dissertations. We don't want anybody hogging the floor. So I want their messages to be clear.
I have kids need a clear purpose, thank you.
Oh, see, and for me, that was audience, but I think they go together.
But I also have audience. I want them to know who they're writing for.
Nice. I have conventions. I'd like complete sentences, capital letters, end marks, and subject-verb agreement.
Ooh, I have support and evidence. That's important to me in the kids' writing.
So what we've done is we have shared our thinking in that deconstruct of our goal. We've done this with groups for content in schools, and it's really fascinating to get a group of professionals together that are really passionate about a goal, and you build that commonality about look-fors. So you're going to do this, then you're going to step back and you're going to come up with category title labels.
So we have similar things. Here we have audience and purpose. How do you want to organize that?
I'm going to say audience/purpose because I like them both.
Okay. So we're coming up with something really new and different, audience and purpose, and we're going to write it on a different sticky and pretend that that's one of our success criteria involves the audience and the purpose.
And I might call this, you have support evidence, I might call it ideas, or we could leave it as support evidence. You're just going to have a conversation about what would the title be of those sticky notes.
So Jamie, the value I think in this is that if we sat down and you and I talked as a group, we would narrow our thinking and our ideas down to just a couple things. In this way, we're putting everything that's important to us up, we're clustering it into groups that are related, and then we're naming it.
Correct.
So the naming is the success criteria.
So here's what we'd like you to do. You need your legal piece of paper, and you need 5 sticky notes. So pass around the sticky note pads and make sure everybody has 5 sticky notes. Okay, next step. You're going to do this independently first. So independently, you're going to look at your goal. So independently, you're going to look at your goal, and you're going to filter through your content. So if you picked a 4C and you're a special ed teacher, you're going to say, what does this communication look like for my SSN kids? Or what does this look like for my mild moderate kids? Or I teach industrial arts. What does this look like through my lens? I want you to do the 5 sticky notes. You don't have to use all 5, but I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do this by yourself. Then we'll have you get up and group to do the Twitter feed, but start by yourself. We'll give you a couple minutes. Here's our success criteria. The 2 in the middle were developed by World Class and Assessment in a collaborative process. They are just drafts. Please tell the person beside you they're drafts. The last one, the purple one about math, that says make sense of problems and persevere in solving them. So math teacher is part of our assessment cadre. He comes in and he says, this is the outcome that's my bread and butter. This would be my goal. Because my math content can change, but we can work on problem solving all year. I can use it for growth. He said, the problem is my kids don't know what the heck that means. So he deconstructed and said, one part would be the kids can deconstruct the problem. They can break it into parts. Another piece is that they have a strategy. Hope is not a strategy. And guessing, well, guessing is a strategy, but it's not a great strategy. So that they have a strategy and they know there's different strategies. The third one is there's accuracy and precision in the math. That's important. The fourth one is about being able to justify their reasoning. Now, I've had kids who are great at math and they get the answer. Can't tell you why, but they get the answer. So this is the part about the communication of the reasoning. And then the last one is that perseverance, because that's one of those words in that goal for that outcome. So here's where you would, on this sheet, write down some of your success criteria. My music friend from Crest Hill, she came up with possibly 3 success criteria for music and said in the fall, I can have them do this. Bigger performance, they can do this. So just take a minute and jot down what you might have here for your success criteria. Just take a minute.